Hey guys, you're back with me, Real Life Grays, for another quick rune video. So, as you know, I've been maining Ornn for some time now, since last season, and I'm definitely carrying on into this season. So with these new rune setups, I've been working on kind of seeing his different roles, where it fits in, stuff like that. So he's a main page really here. It doesn't really change too often depending on what you're going for, so we'll just have a quick run through it here. So, personally, I've decided to go for Grasp of the Undying. There is a bit of an argument there saying that you could go for Aftershock, and if you're going to play him support, then go for Guardian. Guardian does work really well as support, like ridiculously well. Some people are even playing it on tank junglers, just because it works that well in lane. As long as you've got there with a second hit, well, somebody on your team, then you're going to give them that extra shield. It works really damn well. Personally, though, I still go for Grasp of the Undying, mainly because I like doing that damage, and I think that extra poke, even if you support, really good. Now, this one was set up because I played Ornn support, so I went for Font of Life. So, Font of Life marks enemy champions when you have impaired their movement. So, say Ornn's ult, knock up, marks them, Ornn's Q marks them. So, and I'm not sure if his dash does. I think it does because it has got a bit of a knock to it. It will do if you hit the wall and you get the AoE damage, but I'm not sure if you go through them if it affects. But what this does is allow your team to heal off anyone they attack that's been marked. So that works really well with that Ornn ult. You get them straight down that lane, you get a full 5-man ult. Then, as you're in a team fight, your team is healing as they're attacking, and you've pretty much won that team fight easy enough. But if you're in lane, I'd go Demolish. Mainly because Ornn's damage to objectives is unbelievably weak. Even at like full build, you're looking at doing no more than 60. And obviously, he's a slow auto attacker, so unless you're going to build a ZZ Rot, which I have done in the past, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, then Demolish is definitely for you. Personally, this one here is, it's your preference. I tend to alter it depending on what I'm actually laning against. So if I've got a heavy team comp that's AD, I'll put on the Iron Skin starting off. Same if it's a heavy AP lane, then I'll do that. If I know I'm going to be alright in lane and they've got a fairly balanced team, I'll take the conditioning and take 10 minutes. The conditioning is always going to be your better option, really, going into late game. You get that extra armor, you get that extra MR as well. So you just got to survive that 10 minutes. For me, if you're playing on anyway, really, you should be able to survive 10 minutes. But like I say, it depends on your team comp and how you're wanting to play. If you're wanting to get that quick push, then put the early armor on or whatever. But if you're wanting to kind of wait out until late game, eat your team fights, then put conditioning on. Tanks always seem to be, proper tanks anyway, always seem to be going for conditioning. Fighters tend to go for your armor or MR a bit more. Last one varies quite a bit. Now, I originally started with Overgrowth, where you get extra hit points for every 8 minions or monsters that die near you. I believe it's monsters. Every 8 monsters or enemy minions that die near you gives you 0.2% extra health, or max health. Now, it does work relatively well. I used it for a long time. Well, I'll say a long time, we're not that far into the preseason anyway. The old season 7's still running, even though we're in preseason. So it does work, it is nice. If you, I don't know, personally, it depends on how well your farm is. If you're really good at farming and you're going to get 200 to 300 every game within 30-40 minutes, then fine, it's up to you. But that health difference, you're only looking at like an extra 100 health. Whereas I then swapped that to Second Wind, which is gaining 4%, I think it is. So after taking damage from an enemy champion, heal for 4% of your missing health, plus 6 over 10 seconds. Now what works really well with that with high HP champions is you lose a bit, go in, do a very light trade-off, come back, and you're getting 4% of your health back, missing health back. So you're kind of being able to heal a bit over time. Gives you that sustain, and with Ornn, where you're not really wanting to back because you're wanting to just keep building in lane, make them have to back, get that early pressure, then for me it works a bit better. The other one you can go for, but I've not actually seen it used, and I've not used it myself yet, is Revitalize. 5% stronger on shields, and additional 10% on low health targets. Now, I'm using that on Shen at the moment because of his ult. I've not used it on anyone else. Mainly because, even though Ornn's W obviously gives him that shield, for me that shield is strong enough without that being on there. I think I'd rather have that healing factor or that extra max HP than just get a bit of an extra shield every time I press my W. That shield is already big enough. I don't think it's needed. Alright, so your second path, I went Domination. So you get your 130 extra health because you went Resolve first. So I took Cheap Shot because you deal bonus true damage with an impaired movement enemy or actions. So your Q and your ult again both impairs movement. So that's again extra. That's true damage right there on top of if they've been brittled, which you will do through your ult and through your W. Then that's your percentage health damage as well. So you're taking off massive amounts of health there. So it makes him a brilliant laner. Ravenous Hunter as well as the final one I took for unique takedowns grant healing from ability damage. So that one's a bit iffy because your abilities don't actually do that much damage. You could take the CDR, but he is very mana hungry, and I'd fear that would lead to be kind of spamming your abilities too much, and you'd lose that sustaining lane, and you'd lose that advantage. You get pushed under your tower. Your auto attacks won't be enough to hold you in there. You could take the permanent out of combat movement speed. It's not one I've tried yet. It's not one I can see why you'd use it, especially with him being a tank. Obviously he struggles movement wise, but for me to get that extra sustain, then I can poke with a Q. You can poke really with your W, and you've got your ult in there as well, which will all heal you up. To me, that's brilliant, especially when the way I like to play my ult is if we're going into a team fight is to go in, get a knock up, come back out, and then cast my ult. So I've probably taken a lot of damage anyway. I'd then be healing off the second wind, and then while I'm healing off the second wind, cast my ult, get a 5-man knock up, then I'll get healing off the 5-man knock up. Then they're all brittled, team can go back in again, and you're looking at a hell of a good team fight. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you think I'm doing anything wrong, if you want to see anything extra in the comments, and just let me know. If you want to help us out, then drop us a subscribe, and don't forget to check us out on Twitch and Instagram. Not forgetting Twitter, but I do kind of neglect Twitter a little bit, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. I tend to use it for my own purposes. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you again. Bye.